Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for November 24th through the 30th, 2020. These are the very best comments from that time period. Starting out with the three honorable mentions, we have Dumez, Art Bell, and Juliet Indian Mobile. The bronze medal is going to come to us from The Drifting Gamer. I don't typically comment on videos, but I do look at this situation differently than you. You mentioned that you believe YouTubers are buying up copies of what they believe are hidden gems, then making videos on them and selling them for a higher profit. While that is not out of the realm of possibility, I don't believe it happens as much as you think. So let's say the YouTuber is conservative and buys 20 copies of a game. If it's a niche game, buying that many copies already would raise the price. The issue is then selling them. A YouTuber can't just make an eBay listing of some niche games with like 20 plus copies. People would obviously notice that the said YouTuber's eBay account would likely contain other games they mention as hidden gems. Word would 100% get out about the YouTuber doing this. Even if they spread the copies across multiple eBay accounts, that would be time consuming, as it's not just as easy as making another eBay account, considering you need a new number. Most major text verification services don't work on eBay, and you have very low selling limits on fresh accounts. All this would work for 10% to 15% ROI makes no sense. The reason I feel they make those kind of videos is because they are some of the most watched content on their channels. Regarding the limited run games, the community itself has fostered those companies more than any YouTuber. Collector's editions with limited amounts of copies have been around for over 10 years. Part of the company's business model is to create scarcity so that their consumers get more perceived value than they actually get. Companies like Limited Run want a healthy secondary market whether they admit it or not. If their games resell on eBay, it creates a sense for the consumers that they have to have it. Just my 2 cents on the matter. Well, that's fair enough. I don't think I explicitly stated that all YouTubers were, buying up multiple copies and then selling them on eBay. I didn't explicitly state that, but common sense will tell you that individuals like Metal Jesus, who we've seen in videos running out to get rare Darksiders games, with the certain black spine, I think red spine, whichever color it was, he talked in a video about how he ran out to get as many copies as possible. It's not outside the realm of possibility that he would go out and try to get multiple copies of certain games and then make a video about them, then raising the value of said games because he has that power with his particular channel, and then flipping them and selling them on something like eBay. Now, of course, I don't think his eBay account says Metal Jesus. It's not the official Metal Jesus eBay account. I don't think that. There's also other outlets like, Facebook. He could have a Facebook account that's not him, or he could sell through other people. There's ways that he would move those copies. That's the whole point I was making months ago when I talked about that. And as far as Limited Run coming out and saying that they don't like the secondary market, I think that's BS. If they came out and said that they don't really like the reselling and the secondary market, if we're to believe that they really want people to have these games for reasonable prices, it's part of their business model for there to be this artificial scarcity that they create. It's part of their business model. And what drives that business model home is, the willing candidates for them to show their products, meaning YouTubers. Thank you there for that comment there, Drifting Gamer. We move on to the silver medal, which comes to us from Haddam 10 Rose. Lucky he was able to get anything for a CD collection. They are pretty much worthless. I think you're talking about a commenter that said they sold their CD collection. Once they stopped being available, I just sell the 7 Cs for my music. Also, when it comes to CDs, rip them and sell the original. Yeah, you'll no longer have the nice case, but you'll have the music, the content of the disc. I sold some of my book collection to pay for my last semester of college, but luckily I have never been in a position, I have never been in the position of sell or be homeless. Mostly it's always been sell to fix the car, sell to buy something else type of thing, or sell because I honestly no longer want it. CDs and MP3s sound the same. When it comes to films, there are different picture quality levels, and the better the picture, if you stream it, the more data you use. And internet companies are cutting back on data limits so they can raise prices. That's the problem a lot of people had with Disney Plus streaming everything in 4K, even while it's just an upscale. Something like Gargoyles is only HD at the most. They didn't go through and upscale it, so you're using more data for nothing. Okay, rip your copy and sell them like I said with CDs. Unlike a CD, which is less than a gigabyte for a common 12-song CD, a movie, even just SD, and is 2 gigs. So ripping a collection means needing the hard drive space, and those 2 gigs is just for the film itself, not these special features. It's doable. My little all-weather proof server is proof of that, but it's time consuming. And when you stream that movie off your server, it will cost you those same 2 gigs of data. Unless you have the thing plugged directly into the TV or PC you are watching the media on. I can tell this comment is from a while ago because Best Buy dumped CDs in 2018, but physical media is having a bit of a comeback lately. More people are waking up to the fact that it's just a long-term rental, digitals. That's why the sale of DVD/Blu-rays went up so much this year. That Amazon lawsuit really opened a lot of people's eyes. And they are now realizing that all digital media is the same as the Amazon ones. You don't own it, and you never will. Something like comic books is dying for 2 reasons. Firstly, they all stopped focusing on storytelling and focused on social justice. Never a good move when trying to earn money. Case in point, the Avengers game with social justice creation as a star, Kamala Khan, failed horribly that they still haven't recovered their cost. As of 11/25/20, also Marvel just outright canceled every comic story featuring these characters, or the classic characters that had been taken over by those writers. Secondly, the 2 core titans of the industry are owned by companies, Disney and AT&T, that doesn't care about that type of storytelling. Disney stated in their shareholders' meetings that comics are just the jumping blocks for their film and TV division, and comics are just ads. That the Hollywood writers understand the worlds just as well as someone like Stan Lee did. AT&T, on the other hand, just fired a majority of their staff at DC and told the artists their days are numbered. People like Jim Lee and Jeff Johns has been moved over to the film side of things, while the comics themselves have literally been left in the hands of people who were interns last week. And Jeff Johns, and they don't even know who they are supposed to report to. CDs are slowly coming back at places like Target and Walmart, with it being get them when they are new because the store only gets a limited supply. And when you buy them, it's just a CD with a paper sleeve for the cover. Most of them don't come with books anymore. Physical film/TV series had a resurgence last year, not back to 2000 level, but better when it was 2018 when people were reporting the business would be dead in a few years. Games, with both new systems coming with a disk drive, were at least got until the next gen to worry about those going away. Or who knows, maybe when Sony or Microsoft pull a Nintendo and shut down access to digital libraries on their older systems, Wii U and DS, more people will wake up like they have with other forms of media, and gaming community will finally understand digital is just full price, long-term rental. Well, you talked about a lot of things there. Games, CDs, comic books. Weaved a lot of things in there. Let's talk about comic books. There was glory days of comic books. Many people would point to maybe the early 90s. You point to artists like Jim Lee, you point to Quesada, you point to Mark Bagley, you point to X-Men, Spider-Man, you point to Superman, the death of Superman, the story after that. There's so many things that were happening in comics in the 90s, and it was like a boom. And then after the 90s, you had the 2000s, and over time it seemed like people had less interest in comics. Now, a lot of interest in comics was because everybody and their neighbor was trying to, get rich off of comics. Because people were like, what? These are collectible? And then people started collecting them like crazy. But we're not talking about like that. I want to weave off from that and go to CDs and MP3s. Now, me personally, like, I really can't hear the difference between an MP3 that I burned on a disc and a CD. I can't really hear the difference. I've done that. I've sold off CDs for next to nothing, ripped them, ripped the MP3s to my hard drive, and then kept the MP3s, ironically on like blank media. So I can have like a Green Day album and I can, have it on multiple different, I could save it in multiple different ways. And even a high quality MP3 is like, what, 5 megabytes? And that's 320K. That's like a high quality, ripped, burned song, right? Okay, sounds great. Doesn't take up a lot of space. Now, if you have a lot of ripped CDs, then that could take up some gigabytes in space, but that's nothing compared to films. Nothing compared to films and what like a typical 2-hour movie takes up. And the irony is, with CDs, with music, not only is it small, but it's something you would want to listen to over and over again, whereas when it comes to films, like I like the movie Step Brothers, but how many times can I watch Step Brothers? Whew, thank you, Adam 10 Rose. And the gold medal comes to us from Juliet India Mobile. Personally, I think that the big retro gaming YouTube scumbags more manipulate and distort what's actually rare versus hyped. I consider a rare game a game which is uncommon to come across. It's uncommon to come across, not just in the wild, but on the internet as well. Hyped games are games that everyone mentions for some reason or another. A perfect example would be the Revenge of the Bird King MGR scam, any Pokemon title, or Super Mario 64. These games were mass-produced, and these clowns do a video about them. All they have to do is provide careful wording, and the morons and resellers fill in the blanks. Same with MGR's Hidden Gems, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and now for some Bad Fur Day, and now for some stupid reason, Paper Mario, and near any shmup always gets labeled for being rare when most are fairly common. They either have the ample internet selection or the staple of any retro shop's valuable game showcase. I've come across and picked legitimately rare games which are dirt cheap because for some reason no one talks about them. The limited print companies for the Switch killed me in the beginning, but I've mostly quit purchasing them. Limited run games gets a fair bit of criticism, but I give them credit as they've made a more consumer-friendly model in which they do open pre-orders, and most of their games end up in Best Buy in plentiful amounts. They made subtle changes to those releases, but if you're about the physical game to play versus sitting on a shelf, you at least have a fighting chance. Super rare games, on the other hand, is praised, and I could never understand why. Most of their games are shitty, obscure indie titles only Wood seems to know of, and we all know about his credibility. Limited Run does that more often, but Super Rare seems to be the exclusive publishing house for total shit, which they want to drive scarcity on. There are a few others, but none that I've seen has reached a level of those two companies' popularity. As with anything worth collecting, video games, trading cards, comics, and sneakers, the real price drivers are the collectors and not these half-cocked community figures. If you come across some shitty article on the internet about something in your home which is valuable, people always want to score some extra cash on. If you collect and are ill-informed, naive, or ignorant to the item's true value, you are just as much a problem as MGR carefully implying something is valuable. If you quit buying Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut for a ridiculous price because it's a shitty game, the price will go down. I'm not sure why only N64 titles are coming to mind right now, but that's besides the point. Don't feed into hype and don't buy shit that isn't really worth it. If you have the itch to play, I'm sure 5 minutes on Google will get you set up with emulation. What you're mostly talking about is the rareness of a game relative to its value as far as how good it is. I can see that. We bring up Revenge of the Bird King as being a game that MGR hyped up, and in reality, it really is not worth more than, what, $1? Less than $1? Some people saying it was 9 cents on the store, and they feel that they paid too much for it. We are at a time, 2021 now, to where people really expect to get a lot for their money when it comes to games. And this is not just for new releases, but older games and what people will pay for when it comes to older games. Now, people sometimes pay a lot of money for an older game, not because it's a good game in, this Clay Fighter game you're talking about. I haven't played that game personally, but I can't really point to it as being worth its insane value. I've seen it. I've seen it places marked up, well over triple digits. And I'm not paying over $100 for Clay Fighter. I'm not paying over $10 for something like that. It's just insane. And I don't even really care about how many copies were made of that game. It's not that good of a game. It's just not that good of a game per relative to what people are expecting from that game. Now, look at that one game that a lot of people want, the Castlevania game. Well, there's multiple Castlevania games in physical copy people would like. But the one on TurboGrafx. I don't know if it's a limited... I don't know if it was really limited in as far as how many were released for it. But it's a great game. So people should be more willing to put money down for something that's rare, that's a really good game, than something that's absolute crap. But it kind of exposes all of this pretty much when you have MGR coming out, basically shilling for a company for Revenge of the Bird King. That was a moment, and a lot of people spoke out, not just myself, against Metal Jesus on doing things like that. And he really told on himself when he does things like that, right? You have to hold these people accountable and make them remember these times. And then in the future, the next time he goes to shill for limited run games for, a crappy game, people can say, we remember this. The Bird King shit, we remember this motherfucker.